There are several common themes and sayings and specifications that I make sure to bring up frequently on my channel. So whether you're newer here or older to Celio's network, it's a good reminder for me to bring some of these up. I frequently say that any deck can win an event, any deck can do well at an event. And I also try to bring up a lot of times that tier lists are very subjective to the guidelines of the tier list maker, the person actually making the tier list, and are also subjective to how you interpret them. For example, you can name the tiers whatever you want. You can name them red, blue, green. And the only thing that's going to be true is that the creator thinks, or the only thing that will be objectively true is that the creator thinks that the highest tiered decks, if we're talking about Pokemon TCG decks, are better than the tier below it and then the tier below that. It doesn't mean that if you go 3 tiers down, the deck is bad. It just means that the person who made that tier list thinks it is less good than the decks directly above it. People often get this twisted, right? If you put something in tier 3, people will be upset that you're saying that deck is unplayable, when really you just mean that it's worse than tier 2. Now, the person making the tier list might specify tier 3 decks are awful. In that case, yes. But I'm careful to specify what I mean by my tiers. Luckily, we have it right here from a video a couple of weeks ago where I mentioned tier 2 in my tier lists is a step below tier 1 due to having more than one of the following issues: less powerful than the upper meta decks, may have consistency issues, poor matchup spread, lack of speed, countered by typical meta cards, unrefined list, overly meta dependent, otherwise considered a meta deck. Not expected to win the event, but a few could trickle in. Now, this is in relation to Arceus Gudra V-Star winning Salt Lake City. I've gotten comments about meta manipulation and ranking Arceus Gudra as a poop tier deck, and how did you put this in tier 2 and how did you put this in tier B? And looking back, I don't disagree with where I put Arceus Gudra V-Star. Even though I thought it was a great meta call for the event, it doesn't mean that I thought it was an inherently strong deck that deserves tier 0 or tier 1. Nor did I expect it to win the event. And I don't think many people did expect it to win the event. I was confident that Hale could do well with it and the other players could do well with it. And I didn't think it was winning the event until Hale actually made it into top 8. Once he was there, I was very confident with his bracket for Arceus Gudra V-Star, since it is a matchup dependent deck, and it's really good against specific decks, and that was the advantage that deck went in with. But another thing that I frequently say on this channel is that you should play the deck that you like and you should play what you want. And if you think the deck can achieve the goal that you want, whether that goal is to have fun, whether it's to make day 2, whether it's to win the event, your deck choice should align with those goals. And I'm very vocal about trying things out for yourself, testing things out for yourself, playing the deck that you want. So I wanted to talk about the meta manipulation today, and also the specifications and subjectivity of looking at a tier list without taking into account uh the tier list makers guidelines, and that tier lists can be subjective depending on how you perceive them. So meta manipulation is oftentimes not purposeful, but I alluded to this in the recent metagame discussion for SLC, where I said, if we say that Lost Box and Tina and Palkia are the best decks, but then 3,000 people watch this video and want to counter those decks, are they still the best deck? Every piece of content, every forum, every video stream, Twitter thread, all of that can influence the metagame, and they do influence the metagame. And also played out limitless TCG online event results influence the metagame greatly. Now, you could look at that as influence, you could look at it as manipulation. Um, but a lot of it is accidental influence or accidental manipulation, or just manipulation and influence that happen as a product of this content and a product of these events and a product of the online discussion. So I really wanted to specify today about, just because I put a deck in tier 2 does not mean I think it's incapable of performing well or incapable of winning an event. I think it is unlikely to win the event if I put it in tier 2, based on the inherent strength and consistency of the decks in the tiers above it. So, short little video today about how Celio's network manipulated the metagame, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time here on Celio's network.